All right, excellent. We'll go ahead and get started with our presenters. So thanks again to everyone that's able to be here, and we're going to get started with MDE and Sandy and Kelly. If you want to go ahead and get us started, thank you.
Hi, good morning. Just some quick grant updates. So, letters training cohort 13 just closed on the 12th, and now we're currently enrolling for cohort 14. The deadline to apply is, August 30th, and training will start in November. And then I did link the website where you can find the individual registration as well as the district registration. Um, the 35M grant. So for fiscal year 25, I'm still accepting budgets. Not all grantees have submitted yet, but they've all been notified. Um, Budgets are due at the absolute latest by July 20th, because August is the last state aid payment that payment could go out in for this cycle. And then they have to expend all funds by September 30th. There is no carryover. For fiscal year 26, the application will open hopefully in May, maybe beginning of June, because our Nexus team is backed up currently. So I'm once that is open, I will make sure a notification goes out letting districts know. Districts can apply for funding from one of the following categories. So, Tier 1 intervention and professional development are all the same categories that we had last year, but this year we are including assessment. Um, and the Tier 1 purchases can be made from the PA 146 list that was released in December 2025. And then the assessments are the approved assessments as of March 2026. Anything that's added to either list in later review cycles is not eligible for funding. It's just those that are currently on those two lists. The intervention and PD lists remained the same as they did in 2025, but hopefully this will open the sooner the better. Um, Next slide, I think is Sandy.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So my updates are pretty quick as well. So our PA 146 assessment and Tier 1 review cycles are ongoing. The RFS actually was published on March 31st, and it's open all the way through September 30th, 2026. So we're not going to close it. But anyone who submits by April 30th is guaranteed to have a review done in time for the July 2026 updated list. And then anyone who submits May 1st through September 30th in that window, their review will be done in time for the December 2026 updated list. The K-12 literacy coaching model that is required by PA 146, Section 1B. So it's a four-phase process, and phase one was done internally in the department. So really what we did with that is we went and we reviewed different SEA coaching models that are already in existence and kind of vetted some of those out. And we'll have the full team in phase two review those and give feedback on those and evaluate those. Um, Phase two is going to be an entire team of people. Invitations were sent out a couple weeks ago. And the purpose of that phase two, like I said, is going to be to review existing models, the ones we vetted, and then people who were invited could also give input for coaching models that they would like us to take a look at. Um, and what legislation really calls for is either to recommend an existing coaching model or create one of our own that covers grades K through 12. So that will be really the entire team decision. So phase three would be to create our own coaching model. Uh, Sorry, chat's popping up and I couldn't see my own slide. That's really all I have for my updates, unless anyone has questions.
Okay, I think in the question we are okay. Looks like you have a get back to us on the clarification around Dibbles 8 without M class, but what about, we are wondering, what are the approved programs of study in section 8 referring to 1531E? The completion of a program of study approved under section 1531E fulfills the requirements of subsection 7.
Yeah, 1531E refers to educator prep programs.
Okay.
So that's kind of referring to PA 147.
So are there any approved programs of, oh, okay. So those programs of study are more teacher prep, you just said? I'm sorry.
Yeah, teacher prep,
Okay.
because PA 147 is the requirements for educator prep programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greta, does that answer your question?
No. So I feel like in the law somewhere it talks in section 7 about, all the requirements, but are there programs that educators may have completed that would exempt them from that section 7, such as, I don't know, letters or I don't know. Are there approved programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really is up to district discretion.
Oh, well, that is interesting. Okay.
Okay. Great. I think the other questions were answered. Okay, there's a couple more. Is there funding for letters K6?
So there is funding for letters K6, but there is not funding for 712. I know she asked specifically about Aspire. There currently is no funding for that. Will districts be in compliance with PA 146 if they're using UFly as their tier 1?
Well, UFLA is a foundational skills program, so that would, that would be part of compliance. Certainly there are, you would need to be in compliance as far as like comprehension and the language component of PA 146. And really, if you look at section 23C3, that would be an important section to pay attention to because that outlines 5 instructional practices that must not be used within instructional methods or within the curriculum that we use.
Sandy, this is Mary
Mhm.
Johnson.
Hi.
I'll turn on my video. Sorry, I didn't realize it was
Okay.
on. The reason I asked a clarification, I was with the superintendent this morning, and there was an email from MDE, and I just don't know who it was circulated from that said if a district is using UFly as their tier 1 component, they would be in compliance with the law. And it was shared widely on social media. And so I just need clarification for that superintendent, if they would be in compliance with the law, because the other component that they are using, is another program with bookworms. So they're still waiting to see if that will make the list, but they just wanted it, they were told that, and then they had the information from MDE that was posted about being in compliance with having UFly as their tier 1. So that's our clarification we just needed. Thank you.
Okay. Did I answer that fully for you?
So they would be in compliance because they have UFly for tier 1 and it's on the list.
Yes, but there's also section 22 of the law also refers to development of oral language, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. So, certainly any school is going to be teaching that, but as long as your program is teaching those skills, which UFly really does not, so you're going to have secondary curriculum in effect there. So verify those against section 23C3 and make sure you're still in compliance.
And I think there were a couple questions around those coaching models. Those are still to be determined.
Yes, actually, phase 2 has not started yet. Invitations have been sent out, and Katie Dennis, who is our colleague who's chairing the coaching model committee, She is collecting those responses and will be setting up meetings once the date closes for responses.
Okay.
Would you
And
kindly
that,
go back one slide
yep. Hang on.
just for a second? Thank you. I'm good.
Okay. And then there was a question around the K-5 literacy coaches. Just clarifying, are they also going to be expanded to 6-12? So would they be K-12 based on the law? Or do we not know?
Well, there haven't been any changes to the coaching grant. So, there is a requirement under the law for K-12 coaches, but I think that's going to be, and Kelly, you can jump in on this if you want, but I think that would really be an LEA decision if those same coaches would cover grades 6 through 12.
Yeah, I mean, under 35A4, the ISD coaching grant, it's still pre-K to 5 only for that funding.
Okay. And likely it seems that as they look further into these models that are being considered, there might be more clarity around what the support looks like for 6-12 as those models are reconsidered or whatever the right terminology might be there. Probably the answer is in that more than anything.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure some other things will come along, but as always, it's fast and furious, and you always have wonderful answers or the promise of support. So thank you very much for being here and being a part of it. And then we have those dates in there and put in there overall.
All right, like always, reach out with any questions. We're happy to help.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so take a second if you wanted to make some notes and look through those different things. I see a quick thing snuck in there, maybe Kelly or Sandy about December. And maybe that's just asking around those approximate timelines if you wanted to, if you had an answer to that or reply to the chat.
Yes, December it's our self-imposed deadline. So it's not legislatively required, but our goal is December.
Okay. All right, thank you. Janelle, you promised some K-12 updates and people put fire, so no pressure.
Yeah, well, I didn't build slides on this, but I literally just had some pretty important conversations yesterday and this morning. So no time, of course, to update slides. So I will try and talk fast. And I want to talk with two different hats. And I want to be really clear because we're all thinking about PA 146. And maybe in the K-5 space, we're feeling like we've had a little bit more time to kind of work toward a lot of those elements, right? Because many of the things that were in Read by Grade 3 have kind of folded into this legislation. But as far as 612, this is a sea change. Every single piece of this is new. And so I just want to say something because y'all are my people. So I want to say it to you because I think you understand. But I want to be really clear that, there are literally a handful of folks around the state of Michigan whose sole focus is secondary literacy. We are a rare breed, right? We're a lot of fun, but we're a rare breed. And so understandably, we're feeling a lot of pressure because we've made a lot of friends over the years. And so we're a network here, right? And so folks reach out to us like, what are you guys doing about PA 146 for secondary? What's happening? And, we feel pressure because we want to help everybody. And at the same time, we all have our own consultancy jobs, right? That we're doing every day. And many of us are also on the DL task force, which is another hat, but a different hat. And so I just want to name that. And I also want to be clear because we've had some folks reach out and say, well, can the DL task force make a thing, right? We want the DL task force to give suggestions for 612 IRIPs or whatever. And these are all valid questions and requests for support. And the reality is the majority of the members of the DL task force represent folks in math, science, social studies, other content areas where their primary area of expertise may not be literacy writ large. It's the literacy of their discipline. And that's different from having a deep background and understanding on what foundational literacy looks like for adolescents, what content area literacy, right? Like what intervention. And so I just want to name that with this group so that we understand the lens that the DL task force brings to this work. It is a tier 1 lens for literacy instruction embedded within the disciplines. So I just want to name that, and then I'll come back to PA 146 and talk a little bit about some of the conversations. But from a DL lens, so I'm going to put my DL lens, my hat back on. Anyone that attended our consultant retreat in October, I've sent out a reminder email. Any and all folks are welcome to join us on May 4th at 3 p.m. via Zoom. This is a very low stakes, low pressure way to come together and talk. So if you've been trying to get disciplinary literacy moving in your region, and you want to be around other like-minded folks, join us. We problem solve together. If folks lift a question or a problem, often I can say, oh, we've got something for that, and put it in your hands. So feel free to share that. The other thing is that the task force has been working on a document that is intended to be a complement to that, about a page and a half in the MDE dyslexia handbook that talks about tier 1 instruction at the secondary level. It's the section that talks about using before, during, and after reading strategies, if you've seen that section. And we figured that people would probably need a little bit more than a page and a half. So we've been working on what does reading look like in math? Where are some of the areas where students struggle to comprehend mathematical texts, and what can teachers do about it, for example? So we're working on that, and we really want to get that ready for next year so that they can be used together. So if there are any folks on this call that would love to work with me and maybe get an early sneak peek and even weigh in and give some feedback on it, please send me an email. I'd love people's eyes on it. The other thing that we're navigating right now as a DL task force is there's a possibility that we could potentially, for the first time, get some funding. And we already have some ideas about what it would look like to tap into the work that the early literacy and math has been doing and kind of also bring our secondary lens to it. And so you can see the bulleted list there of some of the things that we think would be really useful for the field, including videos of teachers engaging in the practices, some annotated lesson and unit plans that are grounded within the curricular resources that are often used in these disciplines, having a complementary EduPaths course that talks specifically about adolescent reading, and then of course building out some professional learning opportunities with ideally the goal of building some regional DL communities so that we can kind of group together. So that's what we're hoping we'll be able to do, some of the things we're hoping we'll be able to do. And we're really excited about the possibility and trying to ride the wave of these budget conversations. And then on the next slide, we would like to offer another consultant retreat. Whether or not we get funding, we know that there's a need. Consultants are always rotating. So we'd like to offer another one next year. We've had really great feedback in the past. You don't have to be a secondary consultant to come to this. But we're proposing September 10th, and we're looking to see who might be interested and willing on that date to either serve as a host site or a satellite site. This has already been shared with GELN, but they've got a lot on their plate. So maybe you could take this to your friends at your ISD and say, hey, have you filled this out yet? What are we thinking we might want to do? So hopefully you can help me out with that, help spread the word. And then on the next slide, Also just want to name that when we look at those professional learning requirements under PA 146, there's a lot there. And we know that the TA Center has been putting forth some content that is secondary specific. And our intention is not to replace any of that, but we do want to remind people that when we're talking about evidence-based instructional methods aligned with the science of reading, designed to meet the needs of most students at 612, that is the essential instructional practices for disciplinary literacy. And so that's a piece, right? It's a piece of this overall puzzle. It's certainly not everything secondary educators need to know. But if we haven't been leveraging these courses as one way for us to think about an overall professional learning plan, then I feel like we're missing the boat, because we have in there examples of what it can look like to attend to reading instruction in your middle school social studies classroom, right? So that's one tool that we think can be used alongside all of the other great tools that are being put out in the state. To that end, I'm putting my PA 146 hat back on. What I'm proposing to the grown-ups at GELN and MAISA is that there's a right now need and there's a moving forward need to bring folks together, folks that are at MASSP, MEMSPA, MAISA, Reading League, all the folks that are on the call that touch in some way this PA 146 legislation at the secondary level. The right now thing, I think, would be really useful for us to do is to come together and say, what guidance can we share? What language can we share to our ISDs about how we want to message this? If we want to move adolescent literacy, then I believe personally the messaging should be that all teachers at secondary are teachers of reading and should be engaging in all of this professional learning, right? So what does that look like? How can we go about doing that, leveraging the strengths of all these groups? I'd really like to see if we could have a strategic planning meeting with those folks, and I think there's some energy around that, for us to come together and provide at least some stopgap messaging to our ISDs, so that we are planning better together moving forward. And then the future thing that I think could be beneficial is to have a space where we've got some of those folks from around the state that want to think about implications of PA 146 for secondary. So let's get, Katie Dennis is on the DL task force. Let's get Katie, let's get Tom Leitz from MASSP, and let's really think about how we can work together to really accomplish these goals. And so I know that doesn't answer anybody's pressure that you're feeling right now around secondary, but I want you to know that it's something that we're thinking deeply about. There are conversations that are taking place. We understand that this is an area where people want more guidance and support, and it's bigger than just a DL task force conversation. So yeah, I see the question about middle high school district coaches. Absolutely. We've had locals attend because we know at ISDs, there may not even be a person, right, that could attend. So definitely locals that are poised to leverage the work are welcome. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Slide deck and the links are in there if that helps. Thank you, Liz, for helping out. So that was kind of fast and furious and beyond my 5 minutes. I apologize, but those PA 146 questions, I felt like I needed to at least name some of the things we're thinking about.
No problem. Thanks, Janelle, as always. Any other questions or wonderings for Janelle? And I do have someone on a time constraint, so I'm going to jump to MyKIP and then I'll come right back if that's okay, Janelle. All right, perfect. So Dave, I think you needed to jump in and talk MyKIP. And is this the right slide, Dave, to start at? The RAR
Yes, it
slide?
is. Thank you,
Okay.
Mark, for letting me jump in here. Just Dave Carlson, MDE. I'm the MDE lead for the My Strategy Bank and a member of the MyKIP team. Just wanted to go through some brief announcements. The resource allocation review So that process, which is required of all CSI schools, if you continue to need help with that, the department and my colleague Stephen Curry has provided a series of comprehensive guidance documents, flow charts, summary documents, and then actually he's created some technical assistance videos to guide you through that. He's been very busy to try to make that process as seamless as possible. You do have those materials. Once again, if you're working with or supporting a CSI school, they must go through that resource allocation review process, and they're required to find at least one funding inequity. Sometimes there's more, but it is required to find at least one. So if you have any questions, once again, I would reach out to Stephen Curry. Next slide, please. The MyKIP crosswalk document. So we've prepared, the MyKIP team and the regional consultants at MDE have prepared a document that identifies areas where you can use MyKIP information or MyKIP process as part of your CNA and some other pieces in that consolidated application. This document walks you through that. I don't think the link is working, but I will get that to Mark, or you can reach out to me and I can make sure that you get a copy of that. So in an effort to try to consolidate or I guess minimize duplication, because we hear from the field or hear from districts, we're asking the same process twice just in two different places. So it becomes a little bit more burdensome. So we developed this crosswalk to try to alleviate some of that. It's a work in progress. We presented this at the MAS FPS conference last week, and we got some feedback on how to make some changes. So this is an evolving document too, but it should help as you try to navigate MyKIP and the Khan app process. Once again, if you ever have any questions about MyKIP or need a review, Dot Blackwell is always available to do a refresher. She'll sit down with you, walk you through the platform. It takes about an hour, and if you need more time, she is there to provide that for you. So one thing that is different than years past, the MyKIP team is readily available for anyone who needs support. So depending upon whether if it's the RAR, you're going to reach out to Stephen. If it's Dot, or if it's MyKIP, the platform and process, you're going to reach out to Dot Blackwell. If you need help with the strategy bank, that would be me, Dave Carlson. And then that'll bring us to our next slide. If we talk about statewide systems of support, my colleague Jennifer Curtis is there to help all schools that are identified as CSI, ATS, and TSI for supports. She has a series of materials that'll help you in supporting those schools. But if you do need help, she is available also. Once again, I just want to reiterate that we're here for you and we're very responsive. So if you are working with a school that at the ISD level that needs support and you have questions in your work with them, Jennifer Curtis is the one to reach out to. Next slide. We do have a survey out in an effort for us to try to improve what we offer and how we do things and to streamline the process. We know that you as ISD partners are that first line or that first go-to for this. And we understand that sometimes those processes can be and the resources can be kind of intricate and difficult to assimilate. So we're asking for feedback on the support that we provide. And if you can participate in that survey, it would be greatly appreciated. Once again, we're always looking to improve ourselves, the MyKIP team, and those individual areas in which we all work. Next slide. If you haven't signed up for a road show, just to let you know, we come to ISDs, take districts through the MyKIP process and platform. We have a series of other modules. Sometimes it's technical assistance. So a typical day, we do a basic presentation in the beginning, because one thing that I'm struck by is that there's incredible turnover within districts and the people who are assigned that MyKIP element to their work for their districts. we are trying to encourage, it should no longer be that curriculum director or that, that slash person that handles everything and does this on their own. It's meant to be a collaboration between the district level and then within school buildings. So we offer a ton of different learning opportunities to meet your needs. Uh, Again, a typical day is a MyKIP 101 where we talk about process and platform. We talk about how to monitor in one module. We offer technical assistance. So as a person who attends most of those in the afternoon, I'll sit down with a district. I'll look at their plan and help them improve that or navigate that or change it. Typically, what I see as being that person that provides technical assistance, districts are trying to do way too much. They have all kinds of stuff in their plan. They have too many data stories. So it is common for us on the MyKIP team to really ask people to narrow their focus, right? Pick what you really want to follow through the process. You may be doing all kinds of things in your district, but not all of them have to go into the plan. So we really ask people to be intentional with what they're doing. So uh, again, if you are interested in having us come to your ISD, we are doing another series, so Roadshow 3.0 next year. There are still a few slots left this year if you want to do that. I know it's getting down to time here, so that may not work out. But we set up our schedule over the summer, and if you show interest now, you'll get first dibs at particular or at specific dates. We love coming to ISDs. We love providing support. We work with ISD, folks to build their knowledge also. And one thing, the last thing I wanted to talk about with this is, districts are in different places. We have some that are really cranking along in the MyKIP process. They have multiple data stories. They have multiple goals and strategies in place to support those, to support that continuous improvement. And we have some that haven't looked at their plan for 2 years. So wherever they are is where we meet them. There is, as MDE representatives, we're not there to shame people about where they are in the continuous improvement process. We're there to engage with them and help them to be better. So it's not about pointing a finger and telling them they're not doing what they need to be doing. Next slide. Just a few things in the My Strategy Bank. I am the person at MDE that maintains and curates new strategies. Some of this is repeated, but there's been a lot of activity in the last year. There's a lot of new stuff within the bank that we hear from the field, and I hear from ISD folks. Actually, a lot of suggestions about what goes into the bank comes from ISD people. So if you have ideas or you're working with a district that doesn't know what strategy to choose, please reach out to me. I'll help you with that. If they want to create their own, they have that opportunity, and I can guide you through that process. A couple of new ones that I'd like to talk about: trauma-informed programs and practices for schools by the University of Michigan Social Work Department has some great materials out there for you. The best part is a lot of that is free. I know that we have districts that reach out to support to a variety of organizations, and that comes at a cost. A lot of things that are offered through the University of Michigan, those are free materials, free implementation plans. It's a great resource for schools that are trying to address trauma in their students. OGAP, the ongoing assessment project. So it's a math professional learning development or professional development learning system, how to apply formative assessments and use that to inform your instruction. That's a new strategy in the bank. It is a tier 2 strategy. Those are hard to find for math, tier 1 and tier 2. So that is something that if you're looking to improve math instruction, to take a look at. Collaborative instructional learning cycles, those focus on instructional walkthroughs, learning labs, and instructional rounds. That might be an activity for most of you to support strategy implementation, but you do have the option to make it a strategy if you wish. That's one thing about the MyKIP team, and as we lead districts through the process of continuous improvement, we offer them options. We are not there to tell you what to do for your kids. Nobody knows your kids better than you. And we always say the same thing about continuous improvement, about MyKIP. It's those plans are for you, about you, and by you. We are not here to dictate what happens. The last one I'll talk about is collective teacher efficacy. So I've worked with some districts that want to improve how teachers feel about their work because it is more rewarding and they're more likely to stay if they feel that they're supported. I always use the same anecdote. If we as a school building, if everyone pulls the rope the same way at the same time with a strategy, it's gonna make a positive difference. So we talk about that in collective teacher efficacy, and that is reflective of Hattie's work. So if you have any questions about those other strategies that are listed, I've gone over them before with this group. So again, please feel free to reach out to me and ask questions if you need help with a strategy or you're trying to find something that you can't find. Some of them have titles that may not fit your thinking, but I can steer you in the right direction. I did notice there were some things in the chat. Mark, were there any questions?
I don't think that I saw specific questions. Janelle just referenced that for disciplinary literacy, that there were some strategies as well.
Absolutely. So there are strategies that they're listed as structured literacy, MDE approved, and there are 3 types. There's professional development programs, there are tier 1 materials and series, and then there are intervention programs. So we've grouped all of those products into 3 different strategies. We had a big debate about this, about whether we should list every one of those products in single fashion, and that would have amounted to adding like 35 strategies to the bank just with 35M materials. So we did group them under tier 1 materials and series, interventions, and then or intervention programs, and then professional development programs. One little caveat here, letters is actually listed separately from all of those because it came along first and it was something the department was promoting. So that exists as its own strategy. Once one is created, I can't go back and move it or change it because people have it into their MyKIP plans. And I'm afraid what kind of monkey wrench that would throw into their MyKIP plan if I deleted it. So we stay away from that. So again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here to help. The landscape's a lot different around MyKIP. I think when it first came out, there wasn't a ton of support. Now there's a ton of support. So we are available. And thank you to Tanya Harrison for the shout out.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your time. Okay. So jumping back to College Board, Janelle and or Liz.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. I will share this one. So I'm excited to share that the SAT Task Force has completed our support that we were created to give as the SAT suite of assessments were adopted years ago by our state as our accountability assessment. And we know that we've been supporting the switch as it went from paper and pencil assessment to a digital assessment. And now we're moving into what we're calling a maintenance mode. So we'll still be meeting a couple of times a year to make sure that all of our resources are accurate and updated. But our plan is not to offer additional professional learning unless there are changes to the suite of assessments, which we don't anticipate in the next few years. But we have updated the website with some resources, and that website is linked at that top link where it says GELN SAT Task Force. So you'll be able to see the updates as they come across. The most recent update were the instructional resources, and then we'll be adding some recordings of recent training events, and also the data and assessment resources will be available. And certainly watch the MDE Spotlight for the most current updates. Janelle and Mark, I know, are also on this task force. Anything to add, or any of the other task force members who might be here?
We've got that College Board one pager where it talks about like the SAT, like College Board resources and disciplinary literacy. That's on there somewhere. I might
Yep,
drop
it's in the
that.
instructional resources. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
drop that in the chats, that might be interesting. Thanks, Janelle.
It feels like that would be helpful also in the PA 146 space, just to help
Yeah.
secondary educators understand it all. I'll grab that and
Thank you.
let's see. I'll find it.
Perfect. Nothing additional from me, Liz. Well done. Maintenance mode on the horizon.
Maintenance mode activated.
Yes.
For Michigan Reading Association, we are excited to be partnering with my MTSS to offer some sessions, a professional learning series around explicit instruction. We know that those of you who joined us for our spring conference enjoyed Dr. Anita Archer's keynote, and we wanted to continue that learning with partnership with my MTSS. Our first date has passed. Our second date is actually today, but you can still register. And I did want to share that there is an elementary section and a secondary section. So they're at two different times, run by two different facilitators. So again, like we mentioned, sometimes elementary and secondary have different needs, and explicit instruction looks different at both levels. But we're excited about the partnership. This is a free event for members. If you're not a member, there's a link on there to join, and then the additional access to this series is also free. So you'll register through the MyMTSS site, and there's a link on this slide. And we're also excited to be listening to member feedback. One of the things that was mentioned was to extend our offerings in ways that we support our members more than just at our spring conference. So we're trying to revitalize our summer literature workshop. If you've been with the MRA for a while, you'll remember that we always enjoyed meeting with authors and focusing on literature in the summer, and this is what this opportunity is tailored for. So spots are limited. We only have room for 50 people. This one-day workshop will take place at the DIA. They've been really great in partnering with us and offering their space to us as well. So find information on this slide if you are interested in that, and please share this opportunity. I know sometimes regional access can be challenging. Sometimes people think, oh, well, you live in the Detroit area, it's so easy for you, but we know during the summer, sometimes that's a challenge. So try to offer events in different locations. And speaking of events, if we can move to the next slide, our call for proposals for next year's spring conference is open. Our theme is the art of literacy. We've changed our proposal structure a little bit, so you apply straight, you submit your proposals right through the SCED app. I don't like SCED, SCHED. You know, we're always trying to wordsmith how we say that, but there's a link on here. It takes you to the platform, and everything's handled through there. So we're really excited to be thinking about the variety of texts and how we consider text and interacting with texts and the art form of literacy. We think it's such an important thing to remember. So keep that in mind, and we hope that you will mark your calendars for the conference in Grand Rapids in March of 2027, but also consider sharing your proposal of the work that you might be doing in your own professional learning or with your locals, and then encourage maybe some of your teachers that you support your classroom and building educators or coaches to also submit a proposal, because we love hearing what's going on at the state and we love being a practitioners conference. So I'll open it up to any questions if we have those about MRA updates.
I'm not seeing any. Good to hear bringing some of those other pieces back.
Sounds good. Thank you. And then I just added some information about MCTE, but I'm not officially speaking on it. So don't forget about MCTE.
Thanks, Liz. All right. I'm pretty sure Nikki and Kristen did not have updates at this time. So Tanya, we're going to turn it over to you.
All right, perfect. Just a couple of updates from ELTF, and I just want to do a plug for math, as Rusty is unable to be here today with us. So I threw up here the coaching network dates for next year. We do have our next quarterly, which is next month, the 5th, and we are in person at your regional sites. So that has been, the regional sites have really been a successful tool this year. And so we're excited. If you are, I believe, Region 7, hopefully I'll get to have a conversation with you as I'm switching and moving down to that one for the May meeting. Through on the annual institute, please make sure that you get registered for that if you haven't already done so. There is a day that we will be joining math and literacy together on that day. And if you have not booked your hotel, please take a look at that Lansing website for resources because that is going to be crucial. Parking and transition between buildings is a little bit trickier at this site at the Lansing Center. So this is an opportunity for you to get into a hotel that's close. We are working to have a shuttle if you stay a little bit further away, but please make sure that you take a minute and get yourself registered for that, just so that you're in the right location and that we have you on the docket for attending. Pretty big, exciting year for us. Allison will be back, and so please make sure that you get yourself registered for those events. The literacy practices for 4-5, there's a flyer and registration for that, which is now open. And if you are interested in learning more about LLN with that Literacy Leader Network and creating your literacy framework, there's a flyer and registration for that on your site. Do a quick plug, May 14. I should have put that on there, but nope, sorry, May 13, I believe, is the day for the math showcase. I know that we're not really math folks here, but if you're interested in learning about the math showcase with the 23H funding, that is the day where we will be able to share out the collective data and the insights that have been made through the 23H funding. And just as a kind of a plug for the work that Janelle and the disciplinary literacy team, they're taking a big load of work on for this because she's right, there aren't that many secondary ELA consultants. And so they've really been owning that work and trying to provide resources. And so just really a shout out and kudos to Janelle and the other disciplinary literacy teammates on that task force because it's a big lift and they're really working and they don't have funding for that. That's all the work they're doing in kind. So work team from their own ISDs, but that's in kind work that they're providing in addition to the work that they do within their local their local districts and ISDs. So thank you, Janelle, for continuing to support that work and taking on PA 146 for those secondary schools and the work that's being done in the ISDs. If you have any questions, you know how to reach out to me, and I'll be here for the rest of the afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you, Tanya. That was May 13th, right? Okay.
Yes, Math Showcase is May 13th, and it's in Mount Pleasant.
Okay. And I'm sure Carrie's putting those things in the note, but I just want to make sure what I posted in chat wasn't incorrect. Any other questions or wonderings around early literacy task force and those offerings coming forward? And I agree, Janelle, the 4-5 work is exciting to see that come because I feel like it was only a handful of years ago we were talking about, as we talk about now for disciplinary literacy, there's no funding. And then we kind of put together a plan. And then when it came along, we were ready to take action. So awesome for that team that's been kind of rolling out of this work a little bit. So fantastic. All right. Rebecca.
All right. Super exciting to hear about all the funding that's coming forward with the 4-5s as well. I'm leaning into that when I think about this opportunity that we have with Dr. Wajakumar at it'll take place at MSU this summer related to comprehension instruction. So we extended the deadline to May 15th just to give people an extra period of time because of the funding and the quick turnaround. We really wanted to give everyone time to access this as they wanted to. But I have some really exciting news that just was coming in as we were doing this. Dr. Adriel Truckenmiller reached out to me. And if you could just go down into the reactions here with the Zoom, if you are familiar with Sold a Story by chance, could you give me a heart emoji, thumbs up, something? You just have some reaction from folks online. Wonderful. So you might be familiar with Margaret Goldberg. She is finding this research so powerful that she is flying to Michigan to attend the training. So we are really positioned in a very special way right now in Michigan because of the World Cup. With the World Cup, we were unable, Dr. Wajakumar was unable to do her actual summer institute. So we jumped right on her and said, hey, come to Michigan. So please don't miss this opportunity. This is an elementary opportunity for elementary training. Can you go to the next slide, Mark? I will add that we are confirmed that Margaret's coming. We're talking to her about having a little conversation and doing a small presentation in front of that during our time with Dr. Wajakumar. And also for you, those of you that are implementing ending time of type of SRSD or think SRSD work in your districts. She's also done that work, and she's also done some work with Tiffany Hogan around Tiffany Hogan's language intervention instruction. So it'd be really powerful to just be that close in that small space with both Dr. Wajakumar and with Margaret. Then additionally, Dr. Wajakumar is beginning some grant work for that secondary space. So this is where I really wanted to lean into today. Don't miss this opportunity. We've been talking a lot about our in-person training with Dr. Wajakumar, but we'd really like you to consider the opportunity for this grant work with Dr. Wajakumar and her team. You'll have 2 days of professional development that's connected right to your practice, right with your schools. Also, how's that defining middle schools? Anything, she's doing 612, Janelle. If I just see that coming up in the chat. I believe this is defined as 612. And it is,
Okay,
you'll
so
be used,
middle,
yeah.
she's defining middle graders as 612 because sometimes middle
This one,
graders
it
are
might be
like 4
6.
or 5.
You got to look more closely at it, but I believe it's 6-8 when we're talking middle. Everything above 5 is what she is leaning into, I believe. So don't trust me. Read into that link that I have included. And if you need more information, let me know. But I believe this is the 6-8 space because with the CAT framework that we'll be doing in Michigan, it is K5. Is that helpful with your question? So they're extending that to the middle school space. All right, we can move forward, Mark. It's in the Padlet, Janelle. And I'll make sure it goes into the agenda. And it was on our last agenda. The chapter network, so all of the Reading League chapters this summer, our summer book study will be reading isn't optional. And again, that is a wide offering related to secondary students. There are multiple different authors, so it's very similar to the ladder of reading and writing that Benchmark Advanced did, in that there's a section for specialty topics across the book. So there's fluency, bilingual instruction, writing. The launch will feature Dr. Lisa Motes and then the editor, which is Jeannie Shop, who is the president of the Reading League Wisconsin. And I think this would be a really powerful way for us to come around some shared learning as a state around secondary literacy, just really thinking, I'm thinking a lot about 26, 27 being the year of the secondary student across all arenas, intervention, disciplinary literacy, in that bridge, that content area reading, that bridging from middle school to high school. Can we define what that looks like? What does that mean? What's the bridge? How important is fluency? How are we writing in all of those spaces? And I love what Janelle said about how are we having these conversations and just really navigating those spaces between that explicit instruction, intervention, our systems, our assessment, discourse. Come on, discourse. That is so important. Fluency, all of these pieces. So this is a really nice way for us to just start the conversation, I think. So please consider this book study. Next. There's the sign up. So I'll give you just a minute for the Reading League. That's for the book study. Just give you a second there to get me turned in. All right, you can move forward, Mark. And then the annual conference for the Reading League National, I wanted to lift this because it is a team of us from Michigan. We have Denisha Ross-Smith from MDE, Kim St. Martin, and Michelle Goley. So Kim St. Martin, my MTSS, our own Michelle Goley and myself presenting at National to just really elevate the work that's happening in Michigan and how consistent and connected the work is and how all the organizations are speaking together, first coming together to just get the legislation in place, but then now what did this concerted effort to be super consistent and have hard conversations across the work and not be stepping over lanes, but working in this really concerted way that is, I'm just so proud of what we're doing here in the state of Michigan and coaches, how much growth that you've afforded and the work that you're about to take on as we expand to the 6-12 space and all the learning that we're going to be really humble about that we need. I think it's really important nationally to have this conversation. There's a researcher that was talking about these type of laws, the dyslexia laws. Michigan is one of the few that takes it all the way to 12th grade. Our 12th grade readers are as important as our 3rd grade readers. So that really, for me, has been important for the Reading League Michigan to elevate the secondary space in the next year. Next slide. So I do want to add one thing that I took the slide out, but let's not forget I don't think I have it in here. Our national conference, our local conference is February 27th, 26. So February 27th, 2020, February 26th, 2027 is the 27 and 26 get mixed. We are focusing on secondary literacy. So we're going to have Jade Wexler, Dr. Wajid Kumar is going to come back and be our keynote. We have Deion Butler coming. So just really stay connected. And we will be launching with Skillsforce an option for schools to go onto the Reading League platform through Skillsforce and your PA 146 minimum requirements. There will be modules that as teachers come in and you have new teachers and you need to have them work through some of those offerings for the professional learning. We'll have some links that you can just send teachers through. They'll download the materials and share them with the district. It's all on the teacher and the district, but that platform will be available for free. We're doing some partnership with Fisher and Fry. So look for some of that information to be coming out, maybe even as soon as Wednesday this week. And I think that's it, Mark.
Okay,
Any
great.
questions? Okay.
I don't think I saw any questions, but I agree from what I've heard from Janelle and what Tanya shared, and now you, Rebecca, talking about the idea of working together to see what that looks like. And I know that's a work in progress, but it seems like that it's continuing to trend in that direction. as modeled by the early literacy task force and the work that's been done there. So it's great to see this moving forward as we move into this next realm of the middle graders and beyond, whatever that might be. All right, so Ellen is here in supporting Michigan Assessment Consortium. Kathy Dewsbury White wasn't able to make it, so Ellen stepped in. I know she did earlier this year, so it should be fantastic.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everybody, and just thank you for allowing me to step in Kathy's stead. And also just thank you guys so much for all of the work that you're doing to really further the learning and the achievement of our students here in the state of Michigan, especially around reading and ELA. It's great work. Sitting here listening and listening to all of the assessment conversation and all of the laws that have been put into place around these various tools that we have to use, it just sort of starts to resonate with me that in my mind, our students are definitely over-tested but under-assessed. We have so many vendor-produced products coming in nowadays, and for good reasons and for maybe some not so good reasons. But there's just so much that's coming at our kids and at our teachers that somewhere along the line we're missing what the teachers need in order to make this assessment pieces as student involved as possible, and how to grow their own assessment literacy beyond what the vendors are and the laws are asking us to do, but to really think about what does good assessment look like in my classroom? When you think about some of your essential practices, how can I use the observations? How can I use the artifacts that I collect? How can I take those conversations and really make meaning from that information, from that evidence, to really determine where my students are, where to go next, and how to continue the learning for the students? And then pepper in, of course, all of the summative things that we have to do and all the vendor produced. But if we don't do that classroom level, and if we don't make assessment something that is done with students, not something that is always done to students, we're really setting ourselves up for a crisis, I believe, in terms of the assessment world. So on the next slide, just a couple of things that the Michigan Assessment Consortium offers to kind of put the focus back on the classroom level of assessment, to put the focus back on student involvement in the assessment process, to put the focus back on teacher literacy around assessment and what good assessment looks like. This summer, we have our fifth annual Building a Better Assessment Future Conference. If any of you have ever joined us for this conference, you know it is just a really well done kind of boutique kind of a conference where we bring in some people from all over the world this year. Jill Willis is joining us from Australia to come in and just really talk about if we could envision a world where our students were the center of assessment, where our teachers were assessment literate, where we had balanced assessment systems that provided the coherence that we need between our curriculum, our instruction, and our assessment practices, what might that look like? We have Lillian Pace coming and joining us from KnowledgeWorks. We have Stephen Sneed joining us from Oakland Schools, and of course, Jill Willis from Australia. We also have 12 sessions, breakout sessions from practitioners around the state, sharing their practice and what they're doing to create a better assessment future for the students here in the state of Michigan. So if you're free on August 6th and 7th, please join us at the Kellogg Center in East Lansing. We also have some additional professional learning opportunities over the course of the coming up year. And on the next slide, one that we're really excited about is the ALN. And this is our assessment learning network. This is the one where we hope folks like you from various ed organizations and ISDs come together just to further our own thinking and learning. We are completing a 2-year stint with Janelle and the GELN around disciplinary literacy. Comes to a head this Friday. We're having a session at the University Club, where we have some practitioners sharing how they have been welding and marrying the disciplinary literacy and good assessment practices in science, social studies, and the fine arts. So if any of you don't have anything to do on Friday, come join us. Send me an email and I'll get you registered. Not that anybody has a free day, but if you do. Next year, we're going to be concentrating on competency-based education and how to develop and implement competency-based assessment systems. And again, we have a really great lineup of folks joining us. And if you go to that QR code, you can learn a little bit more. On the next slide, we have two programs that are near and dear to our heart that really speak at creating the balanced assessment systems within classroom settings. These are our Achieving Balance in Classroom Assessment. These are a multi-year long, but initially a year-long series of professional learning for LEAs and also for ISD ESA consultants. This particular one in blue is for LEAs. If you have any districts that are thinking about balanced assessment systems that are struggling with all of the over testing but under assessing, that are looking for ways to think about how they can streamline things and increase the assessment literacy of their teachers and the student-centeredness of the assessment practices in their classrooms. This ABCA is a wonderful program. It's 6 sessions that happen overnight at the end of the school day, which is tough. But it's a really unique opportunity for teams of district school folks to come together and just really deepen their understanding around balanced assessment systems and what all is entailed in that. From this program, we have folks who end up doing assessment inventories. We have folks that end up creating FAME teams. We have folks that end up thinking more about their summative assessments and the quality of the summative assessments that they're actually engaging kids with that are, sometimes teacher and or resource created. And really thinking about how this whole system is working together. The next slide is information around the ISD version of this particular professional learning opportunity. And this one is because in this conversation, and I've only been on for the last hour, I heard the assessment word probably 15, 20 times. This is part of your work now. And as a consultant going out into districts, your assessment literacy and how all of these laws are impacting what it is that we're doing in our classroom has become part of your world. And so becoming more of an expert on how this all fits together and where, the formative assessment and where quality performance assessment and where authentic assessments and that classroom level of assessment, where all of that fits in relation to PA 146 and the NWAs and the iReadies and all the other things that we have to do through state mandates could be really important and could really help you then further the learning of yourself, your colleagues, that could then be transferred into your locals as well. So if you're interested in this one, there's a QR code. My email is there. Always happy to answer questions and explore further any of your thinking around any of these professional learning opportunities. The last couple are more individualized for teachers. The ALI, we are losing our assessment folks nationwide who are the experts that we go to. Paul Black has recently passed. Jim Popham has passed. Rick Stiggins is retiring. We need a new generation of assessment literate folks to come and take the helm and to really start to hone in and speak and become experts in assessment literacy. So if you know anybody who is in that realm that just has a passion for evidence and data and talking about those types of things, this Assessment Learning Institute might be for them. It's for individual teachers who just want to do better and just have a better understanding. So if there's anybody in your ISD or in your LEAs that might, or maybe yourselves that might be interested in this, this is a really fun series. We have 5 sessions, and then we have some talkback sessions where you come and talk about what you've implemented and what's worked and really create a community of learners among the participants who engage in this particular opportunity. The last 2, one of them is around the summative assessments. We have recognized pretty clearly that doing formative assessment is quite powerful. But when you take formative assessment that's even being done really, really well and butt it up against inaccurate, low quality summative assessments, we start to harm kids again. And so thinking about, especially as you guys move into, thinking about disciplinary literacy within the secondary world, what are those assessments telling us and what are they not telling us? And what do we need to help secondary teachers in particular think about when they're actually developing these assessments to determine whether or not students have, gained the information that we want them to? This is a really interactive workshop type of a professional learning opportunity that is something that can be taken back to the districts and used over and over. And it's really something that just really hones the development of quizzes, unit tests, anything that a teacher might use within their own classrooms to just make sure that they're a little bit more intentional and purposeful about the way that they're gathering that evidence, so that when they actually let the students know what they know and what they don't know, it's accurate and it's of high quality. And then last but not least, the MAC always does a book study. And we know that grading is always a big conversation. And there is a new book out. It's called Equitable Grading Unlocked. And again, this might be something for your secondary folks, because again, something that can ruin really good formative assessment, even really good summative assessment, is bad grading practices, right? So thinking about how we grade and how we report to parents and students their academic achievement, this is a great read, and we have both of the authors coming through a series of sessions that we're going to be offering around our MAC reads this year. All of these slides are available. QR codes take you to all of our event pages. Registration for all of them are live, and my email is attached to pretty much all of them. So if you have any further questions or would like to discuss anything more, please feel free to contact me. And I am sorry that I took you 5 minutes past your 12 o'clock stop time, but I do appreciate the opportunity to come in and have some conversation with you guys. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Ellen. And thanks for kind of connecting what you've been hearing. I think that's a pretty common theme. And having taken on that or having participated in, I chuckled when you said overnight. It certainly isn't overnight, nor should it be. But yeah, I got you. So thank you. And I don't think any questions had come up, but I think it's always informative. And I know we've made a lot of good partnerships from this group and what the MAC has been doing, including some book studies in the past. So thank you. And thanks to all of the presenters for another great year. If you're still on, and I know many have left, but thanks to those and putting that time and effort and energy into it. And I gave you dates to consider for next year in the last email, but we'll certainly be following up as well as a leadership team.